Good afternoon, guys. Here we are, part of the Levim Art Gallery interview series, coming off someone who changed restaurants in North America. We've come to interview today someone who raised the standard of service and quality in the Pesach hotels. I've been to many Pesach programs, hotels, Hanukkah, Shabbos, Hanukkah, Nachamu, and I must say there's something very special and unique about Bruce Backman in the way he services his guests, and his attention to detail is insane. From the napkins to the quality of the meats, it's just incredible. So let's take us back from the beginning, Bruce. How did you get into hospitality business? I know you have a journalistic background, Fox News. How did you fall into Pesach hotels from being a journalist? What's the story?
I've always been in hospitality. I've always had a knack for it. I've always been interested in it since I was young. We didn't travel all that much as kids, but when we did, we stayed in hotels, and I was very interested with the whole hospitality industry. There was an old saying someone I used to work with used to say years ago. He said that if you can't be rich, at least vacation like you are. And it always rang true to a certain degree, because people, vacation and when they leave home is an escape. And that escape should be, I wouldn't say better than their regular lives, but it should be special, it should be unique. And I used to like going on vacation, and I still do. I love planning other people's trips, sometimes, for pay, and very often just as a hobby to help out family and friends. And I've been a guest at Pesach hotels before. And when I decided to go into the Pesach business, I saw things that other programs did well, and I saw things that other programs did poorly. And my program is very guest focused. I always wonder, if I was the guest, what would be important to me? And so when I build a program and a schedule and I write a menu, the thoughts of my guests are always first and foremost.
So how did you get into what was your first paid hospitality gig?
First paid hospitality gig? And I've been doing a lot of work with Chabad for many years with the National Jewish Retreat. I wouldn't say it was paid. Didn't start paid. It was really started as a volunteer basis. And there I learned a lot about the industry as far as the hotel part. Booking the hotels, planning, and watching, if anybody's ever interested, it's without question the finest learning program done by any Jewish movement around in the summer. I highly recommend people go on it. It's 5 nights, 6 days, and I think it's almost 200 lectures today, and the food is good, and the hotels are always nice, and it's always in nice destinations, and it's pretty well priced for what it is, being that it's a moisid, and I did work with them, and I still do. This year, the National Jewish Retreat, we're just finalizing on its final location. But I took an interest. I always was a guest, and I wanted to always have a Pesach hotel. It was just a thing. There's people who, I have the young lady who works with me, Elisa Green, who's, if you ever get and call and make a reservation, you'll deal with her. She's a Pesach junkie. She's, either traveled to or worked in programs for, over 30 years. Once you're in it, it becomes a little bit addictive. You can't get out of it. I know people who do Pesach every year and they lose money. It doesn't make any sense, but they can't get out of it. So I started there very small in Vermont many years ago, and today the program is, I would say, a large program. We have anywhere between 900 and 1,100 guests, depending on the night. And we always do destinations that are driving distance from tri-state cities. We've never really gone into any hot weather destinations. I always felt there was a lack of well-run programming close to home. The really luxurious ones are always far away. That's not to say that many of my competitors don't do a nice job. They may do very nice jobs, but I felt that there was an opening there for doing something a little bit different.
What would you say the most important thing for a guest? What do you think is the most important thing for someone to come to a program? What would you say in one line? What are people looking for?
I think most people are looking to get what they paid for. I think most people save. I think there's different kind of customers. You have the big group customers, which is the family of 50 people, and they're together all year, once a year, all of them in one place, and it's impossible for them to be under one roof because they live in a bunch of different cities, sometimes in different countries. And they're looking to be together, and they're looking for service and privacy with the other people around. And then you have the client who's a globetrotter, and it's on to Washington, D.C. now, and then they're going to Italy in the summer, and then they're going to Israel for Sukkot, and they're always bouncing around.
So they're just looking for a big place to service them.
There's another client, though, and they're the client that I think about a lot. I think about them because I think I am them. It's the client who saves up all year and is willing to pile into one room or two with all their kids and all the kids are home from school, and this is their budget for vacations, and I take it very seriously that they have to get what they paid for. They have to get their money's worth, and they can't feel that the money they saved and they worked hard to put away to go away should have been spent on a program that was not enjoyable, not fun, and people didn't leave feeling they had a good time.
When you say get what they pay for, are they calculating every meal what it costs?
No, I have to be. Every program has to be profitable.
As a consumer, you say people want to get what they paid for. Is it a general feeling that they're getting, or they're like itemizing everything?
It's like anything. You walk into a restaurant, you feel you paid what you got for, and you get what you paid for. It's an internal feeling. It's not where you're sitting with a calculator. You feel that you went to a place, it was money well spent, and you would do it again. And those are the calculations that we make. I mean, I'm not saying there are programs where people go to that are very expensive. They don't feel they got what they paid for, and there's some that are very low end that people think they underpaid for what they got for. I want people to get, I want them to feel they got more than they paid for. So, and I want people to feel that it was worthwhile coming, and even if they don't come to me every year, if someone were to call them and ask them, they would say good things. I don't want anybody on the street saying that the program was bad. Is it to say that everybody who goes to every program is thrilled? Probably not, but we try really hard to work on issues for any client who's unhappy with something or other, and we try to fix it if we can. Sometimes it's in our power, sometimes it's not to do with the program.
Could you tell us a great story that happened in one of your programs over Pesach, a story, an experience that sticks out in your head?
In terms of what?
A great story. Someone was having issues, they had this, someone sent them on vacation, I don't know.
I mean, my favorite story was years ago. There was a client who came with their kids, and the children, for some reason, thought that the hotel had a ping pong table, and they love ping pong. And I can't say I did this again because it cost me a lot of money. But the mother came to me and she says, we came here, my kids want to play ping pong. There's no ping pong table. All the programs have ping pong tables. So I went on Amazon, I overnighted one, and I sent it to their room. I didn't get them the biggest size. I got them a medium size one. And she says, what's this? I said, here's a ping pong table. I'm like, what's that? I said, the truth is we don't have anywhere to put it. That's why we don't have one. But I bought you something small that should keep your kids busy. She says, and if you like it, you can take it home. She's like, really? I'm like, yeah, I don't need it. She says, why did you buy it? I said, you were under the impression we had one. Maybe someone mentioned to you that we were going to. We didn't have place for it. Honestly, didn't have place to put it. Ping pong table takes up space. And then you need space to back up. I mean, and if you have limited, this was many years ago in Cape Cod, but if you have limited space where to put things, your ping pong table needs like a circle around it so people can play. And we just didn't have space for it, so we didn't put one there. We had other games. We had bocce ball, I think. Not bocce, foosball. But we didn't have ping pong. And I said, but here's one. You have a big room. They happen to have a suite. I said, you could take it, keep it, and if you want to take it home. I've never seen it again. And I don't regret it because she went home and she told everybody, oh my God, he bought a ping pong table. Of course, next year we got a lot of calls from the neighborhood asking if everybody gets to buy ping pong tables. One lady called and asked, but I told her that it was a one-time thing.
If she wasn't a sweet customer, would she still get that service, Bruce?
We try. I mean, there have been customers, most of my customers are happy. I mean, I think they're happy. I mean, I'm not hide from them. I always take pride that I walk the dining room at every meal. I check on every table at least once every meal. I may not have a 10-minute conversation, but at least I say hello. At least I ask if they're enjoying their dinner, if there's something I can get them. I always feel that if you're close to where the guests are and you interact with them regularly, you'll find out if something's not good. Instead of finding out after 9 days that they didn't make up my room, or I didn't like where I was seated, or the food's always been cold, or my son has nothing to eat. If I find out about it when it happens, we can fix it. If I don't, my father always used to say, if you don't tell me where it hurts, I can't. If you don't tell me where it hurts, I can't fix it. So I have to know, and I don't mind knowing. I don't view complaints as people being difficult. I view complaints as people saying this is important to them, they paid money, and if there's a way to have it, it'll make their trip better.
How many years are you doing it, Bruce?
10.
10. Do you have what's the most times a customer came to your program out of 10 years?
We have some 8s.
8s.
We have some 8s. I have a lot of 5s and 6s.
5s and 6s.
I have a few 8s. I have any 9s? No, I have an 8. I'm cool.
Elisa,
I may have
Elisa
this year. Elisa's a 9.
9.
I may have had a lot of 5s and 6s, a lot of 4s and 5s. I would say that 60 to 70% of my guests have been to me once before.
60 to 70.
Yeah, maybe over 70. At least one time before. Could have been that the family grew in size, so there's new members, but one member of a family came and brought other family members, for sure. For sure that. I mean, we always go through our lists, and a lot of my customers, I've had the privilege of watching their kids grow up. I've seen kids, when you're in this business that long, I've seen kids from bar mitzvah to getting married.
Now, one thing I noticed, I know you appreciate the art of hospitality more than most people ever met. remember once you had even a guest lecturer talk about the Catskills and the Borscht Belt and that whole history.
We did that years ago, sure.
So would you say there's a deep appreciation for Jewish hospitality?
I think that Jewish hospitality, the secret to Jewish hospitality is Hamish. Has to be Hamish, has to be comfortable, but it also has to be refined. It can't be schlocky. The best of the non-Jewish or the European ways of hospitality mixed with Jewish Hamishkeit is really what most clients are looking for. The Catskills was schlocky, but there were certain things in the Catskills that people liked. And there's certain things that people miss a lot. And then when they think about their Summers and Grossingers and the Concord and other hotels, they always think about it very fondly because they remember there was, this, I don't know who's listening to this, but Jenny Grossinger, has a book. And in her book, there's a book written about her life, and it talks about she was the queen of the Catskills. And she talks about the Grossinger family and how they looked after their guests, and the loyalty they had from their guests was extraordinary. And it was a mix of Hamishkeit. It was classy. It was, the service was good, but you had to really listen to your customers. I say this all the time. It's a lot of money. People are paying a lot of money to go on these programs. So if they're not enjoying themselves and they're not having a good time, they don't feel like somebody's listening to them when they want or need something, why I do a barbecue. So I used to have, a lot of programs do a children's dinner. So I started on programs in the north, up north, don't usually do barbecues because we don't always have weather for it. I, Baruch Hashem, have very nice weather. I tend to have nicer weather than most of the hotels near New York because I'm 4 hours south or 3.5 hours south of New York City. So I pick up about 10 degrees. So we've had very few Pesachs where the weather wasn't in the 70s, at least half the time. And we've had 80s too.
Never outdoor pool.
Well, outdoor pool's open every year.
It is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Leave it open.
We leave it open. We heat it to 86 degrees. And I would say it gets used. We don't open it on, the Shabbos and Yom Tov maybe not really being used, but, for some guests, it depends. But for the most part, on Chol Hamoed, it gets used. Absolutely. I mean, if the weather's 68 degrees and up and it's sunny, most people are comfortable going to an outdoor pool as long as the water's warm enough.
What I find amazing about these programs is it's basically an entire city for 10 days. And it's like a whole new environment that people will meet each other that they'll probably never meet before or after.
We've made shidduchim. There's been matches made. There's been business relationships developed in Pesach hotels. That's very common. I had one guy years ago tell me that he runs it as a business expense because he knows certain programs have certain people, and those people are people he gets to get to know. I mean, I don't know how the IRS goes for it, but I've heard that before. But there are families
you ever get people requesting to be near certain people because they want to do business with them in seating?
I will tell you that it has happened, yes. I have also tell you that we don't always necessarily comply because it takes two to want that, but it depends. It depends on a lot of factors.
Bruce, give me some 5.
There are people, I'll tell you what more often happens is that they know that a particular family is coming and they have a son or daughter, and this family has a son or daughter and they want them to meet, and before Yom Tov, I'll get a call or Elisa will get a phone call and they'll reach out to us about, they're very interested to meet that particular family because they know they're coming there and they want to see what the son is like or vice versa. That happens a lot. And they'll ask me sometimes to go through the dining room and see if they're interested, to go, and they notice them by the barbecue or they notice them in the lobby and they want to know if they're interested in dating now, if he's busy. That stuff happens, sure.
So people have dates on the spot in the hotel?
We've had dates on the hotel, absolutely.
And they met there and started dating there?
Yeah, I think there's even been marriages and weddings. I know of one years ago, but I don't know. I know that there's been dating coming from the program for sure.
Bruce, top 5 most strangest requests you ever got?
I don't know.
Years.
The truth, I don't think any of the requests are that strange. What's this?
No bizarre crazy.
What do people request?
I don't know. I'm just asking.
I don't think so.
Nothing.
I mean, sometimes they ask if it's something that's out of the ordinary, but I mean, if it's within the realm of, if it's within reason, we're happy to do it.
Because I always see these articles about these high-end concierges and there were strange requests at 4 a.m. and
we don't get that kind of stuff. We don't get that. We don't get that stuff. I mean, why? First of all, the tea room's open at 4 a.m. So if you're really hungry, you can go there. And second of all, what are the requests? I mean, I have requests. There have been guests over the years who've had unusual requests with, what's unusual? Somebody wants an extra fridge. Somebody wants an extra bed. Somebody needs something fitted in the bathroom so it's more usable for them. Somebody needs extra storage space.
Bruce, how do you know how much food to make?
It's easy. You count how many guests and you know how much protein humans can eat, and then you buy a little bit more. So you're covered.
So if someone wants to order 5 steaks for one person at dinner, do you tell them
There's ratios in this business. There's ratios. 5 steaks for dinner. If everybody in the ballroom ordered 5 steaks for dinner, we would not have enough.
You would have enough.
No.
So what do you estimate?
But I also don't imagine that 5 people, if every steak I put on the plate is, 16 to 18 ounces, I'm not really that worried that anybody's asking me for a steak at number 2.
So
if I get 10 or 12.
You ever run out?
It's a very hard thing. We're very careful. I watch my counts very carefully. I buy what I need. I buy a little bit extra, but I can't buy enough. There's baltashkas.
Are you ever buying chalamoid?
Of course.
You do that?
Yeah, of course. And you always write a menu with the options to buy extra chalamoid. But certain products we're getting chalamoid fresh. Fruits and vegetables, sometimes fish.
In DC, is it harder to get food
No.
from New York, or they'll ship everything?
I don't have to get everything from New York. I'm very close to Baltimore. So I have options of getting food within an hour of the hotel. And DC has ample kosher food for small requests between 3 supermarkets.
Your dinner menu.
But Baltimore has if I only have an hour and 10 minutes and I need a particular item, there's times I'm doing runs from 7 Mile Market in Baltimore a lot. But 7 Mile always sends the food to me. I'm a good customer. So if I need something, I could sometimes have it in the hotel in an hour and a half, door to door, from when I ordered it. Depends. It's there.
Chef,
it's a shout out to them. It's a great supermarket.
How long have you been a chef? How long do you have your chef for?
The one I have now, I have 6-7 years.
6-7 years.
Yeah.
How do you know who?
There's many chefs. There's a meat kitchen. There's a dairy kitchen. There's a bakery. There's a parv kitchen. There's a lot of chefs. The staff. When you add in all the waiters and all the chefs together, you're talking over 200 employees.
How do you pick your staff? What's the word?
It's teams. You don't really pick an individual sometimes. In this kitchen, you're picking a team of people. Pick a group. So they have to work well. I don't like to take, you only have Pesach 10 days. So you're going to take people who don't know each other and put them in a room together and say, okay, now get everything done. Sometimes it works, but it's better when you take people who work with each other before, and when they get on the job, there's not that adjustment. That's not to say we don't add labor who they don't know, and of course, sometimes, but for the most part, not.
Kitchen, it's the top chef hires everyone under them so they know each other.
He chooses, he's involved in it. I wouldn't send him somebody he doesn't know and he doesn't like. I would be very careful too. Because at any time I do that, sometimes it works, most of the time it doesn't.
Clashes.
Yeah, there's a lot of personalities. It's a very hectic place. There's a lot of excitement going on in a Pesach kitchen, especially Erev Yom Tov, especially, even Chol Hamoed before a big dinner, and you need a team that works well together.
How do you do a Seder for 1,100 people and they're all up to different parts of the Seder? Does that make it complicated?
You write a menu that makes sense. You serve an entree.
What's the range?
I wouldn't serve a rib steak for that meal. That would be silly. You serve items that could sit in warmers or sit in ovens a little bit longer, and they're not going to,
What's the range?
Why does every Pesach hotel serve short ribs on the first night? Or in my case, we serve asabuco, which is veal shanks. Why? Because there's certain things that don't really dry out if they sit for a little bit longer.
What's the range? 2 hours from one guy's shulchan aruch to the other, or it's a little tighter than that?
There's been years it's been 3.
3 hours.
Yeah. But that the third hour person is a rare exception. We've had families sitting in their rooms till 2:33 in the morning, and we have families who are done and in their beds by 10:45.
The private dining rooms, I'm assuming, go a little longer, or not necessarily?
No, not necessarily. That doesn't mean anything. There's families sitting in the dining room all night. I'd say most guests are in their rooms and done by about 12 o'clock.
What's your opinion about tipping?
We pay staff well enough, but tipping by me is discretionary. We encourage it. We have recommendations, but I also need the staff to earn their tips. Staff can't be tipped if they didn't do a good job, and they can't.
Pushing tips.
We push tips, but we push tips to a point that people have to earn their tips. Tips used to be something you earned. I think today everybody thinks tipping is not earned, and then you have service that's as such. I went to a restaurant recently. I don't want to say which one because it's not nice, and they had a chocolate cake on dessert menu, and I was with my 3 kids. And to take the 3 kids to a restaurant is a lot. And we ordered it was a hot chocolate, some kind of chocolate cake with ice cream. And I didn't want them all eating so much. It was late. And I asked the waitress, not the waitress, the server, whatever the correct term is today. I said, could you do me a favor, please? Just split the item in the kitchen into 3 pieces. I'm asking you, just please cut it. Because when it comes to the table and I tell the kids they can't have their own and they're going to have to split it, they're going to fight over who's eating it. She says, I'm going to bring you 3 plates. I'm not doing it. I'm like, can you please? She says, I don't do that. She comes to the table. My kids had a fight. It was predictable. What was it for her? She gets a tip. Or to tell the chef, what is it to take the cake and cut it into 3 pieces and put it on 3 plates? We spent a lot of money. We were a party of 8 people. It was one measly request the whole night. That's unacceptable to me. I didn't ask a lot. It was a reasonable request for a good reason, because what ended up happening, my children had a tantrum in the restaurant. They're very upset. All the other guests are disturbed because the waitress didn't want, or the server didn't want to cut it into 3 pieces, which was perfectly available to do because I had to cut it into 3 pieces. But of course, when I cut into 3 pieces, the kids see me cutting it, so who's getting bigger, who's getting smaller, and the rest is predictable. But that's not good service. That's bad. So if somebody did that and worked for me and it got back to me, a reprimand, and if it was more than once, I'd have to be fired. It couldn't work for me. That's not acceptable. My staff knows that's not acceptable. If my clients ask for something and the waiter and the staff is, you can't have this, I have a rule. The rule is that the staff is asked, can you have it? And the waiter or the server will have to go to the maitre d' or captain. They're not allowed to say no. My staff can't say no. A waiter, a waitress, a server cannot say no to my guests. You want to say no to the guests? I'll say no to the guests. I'll have a maitre d' say no to them. They know this full well. You'll never hear one of my servers tell a guest, no, you can't have something. They'll say, at the very least, let me go and check, and then the captain and or the maitre d', and if necessary, myself, will go there and speak to the guest and find out what the request is to see if it's something that's reasonable.
Do you talk to your servers before they start?
Sure.
You do.
There's a speech every year, and then there's briefings before every meal. But it's a standard of service. People go to other programs, and they always like the way. My waiters people who work for me know this is my expectation. And if I have a server, and I'm not saying they're all perfect, who's not doing that, then they're not someone we take again, or they may have to leave. I can't have guests be told no. Guests can be told no, but it has to be told. A good example. I don't like what's on the food tonight. What can I eat? There's nothing else. There's never nothing else. Go speak to the captain, go into the kitchen, ask somebody who's a senior person to come over and find out what the issue is. Sometimes one of the kitchen managers will come onto the floor, talk to the guests. What would you like to eat tonight? There have been times I made an omelet when I'm serving a steak dinner because that's what they want to eat. And it's not a big deal.
How long did it take?
It's 2 eggs, 3.
How long did it take
a big
to become
deal.
profitable, Bruce?
It's still growing. It took many years. There's been ups and downs, recessions and things like that take a hit. No year is predictable. I have friends who run very successful programs in Florida, and all of a sudden there's Zika virus and they're losing their shirts. You never know. So I wouldn't say it's profitable. I think I'd like the term better until you have a good cohesive machine, that it works smoothly and effectively together as a group. Once you have that team and once you're organized that way, then I think you're at the next level. And I think a lot of the newer programs, a lot of them, when a new program opens up, it takes time for that.
Aren't there a lot of bumps you got over since you
learn
the
a
same
lot.
property for so many years?
It's nice to go to the same hotel every year. Everything's predictable. It's also nice to know that I have most of my staff returning. It's also nice to know that the hotel has a significant portion of their staff returning. It takes a lot of pressure off me. And the guests are happy. Or the guests, somebody called me once who was doing a program. He says, I've been to this hotel 3 times. I think I need to move. I said, why? He says, well, the guests won't go there again. I said, you have 80 people in the program. I said, there's a million other Jews. I said, those 80 people made it. So maybe open a second program to move those people to. But don't close a successful program because the people got bored. Get new people. There are guests who want to go other places, and there's guests I know that'll call me at the beginning of the year and say, I want to go to a different hotel.
Do you use the kitchen staff of the hotel or
No,
your own?
nothing.
0.
Nobody. Not even the dishwashers.
Wow.
I can't take chances. They're not used to the volume. Whenever a hotel tells you, this is a warning, when a hotel advertises that they're using the entire hotel's kitchen staff and a consultant to do the program, it's a big problem.
Why is that?
Because hotels do not understand the volume of Passover. And when they walk into a program that first day and the Seder meal is without doubt the most complex served meal in the entire world of catering. And when you do a meal like that with so many components in a hotel that's new and the staff isn't ready and then you're going into Shabbos sometimes and there's so many different moving parts, you need to have a team who understand what's going on, and you can't just rely on one person to fit the bill. It doesn't work. And now, is that to say that there haven't been programs like that have been successful? No. Is that to say that a program like that won't be successful? No. But as anyone who's doing it, I don't want it. And I would save a lot of money doing that because the local labor is less expensive, the local staff is less expensive. But at the same time, that local labor is also, nobody understands the sheer volume of work that goes into preparing the week before Passover. And most hotels cannot handle it. Their staffs aren't used to it. We're used to 8-hour shifts, cooking simple menus with few components, and a lot of it can be put in hot boxes and sit there for 3 hours, and then it gets sauced by the waiter. He puts gravy on it, so it's warm when it comes out. Passover is a whole different ballgame. And anytime you rely on hotel staff to do that, unless the hotel staff has been doing it for 20 years and they're trained in that regard, which is possible, you're asking for trouble. Is it to say that the hotel staff can't do anything? No, they could do some stuff, but you can't put the whole program on their shoulders. They're not able to execute it. I mean, every program you ever hear that has a nightmare, it's always because it's usually that's a big part of it. The head chef in the hotel I work in now has told me many times he would never do Passover in his life, and he knows what it is because he watches it every year. He wouldn't go near it.
How does the hotel keep?
And the first year he came to me, oh, we could do this. After he saw it, he said, "No, it's fine. Don't worry. You do it. It's okay. I'm very happy. I'll just be here to help on the sides if you have questions." And he's very helpful, but he's not. His workers aren't up to his staff.
So he's there the whole week. Okay.
Yeah, of course he's there. We need help in the kitchen with questions. Equipment doesn't work. This has to be fixed. Where does this go? The refrigeration. Can we maneuver this? If I need to move things around somewhere, sure, we keep him on staff. He's there the whole week, but he doesn't want to be on the line cooking. He doesn't want to be running this. He doesn't want to be running his staff.
How does a hotel keep up with the cleanliness? They're not used to having kids and families all locked up in a place for so long.
Well, you have to have a good camp, and you have to have good programming for the kids.
Do you add more people cleaning in the lobbies and stuff?
Yes, we do have additional staff cleaning. I pay for additional staff to clean up the lobby, empty the garbages, go through public areas. And the other thing is you need space. You have to have a lot of space. If you cramp up people in a small space, 1,000 people in a space, or 700 or 600 people, and it's not built for it, you're going to be a mess. Think about any other place. Think of any shul when you pack it up and you're doing a kiddush in a shul and there's lots of people. The floor's a mess after. So in my program, we build a tent outside, and that functions for kiddushes and barbecues. So I keep all the dirty, the messy food outside the building, as much of it as I can. All the kids' meals too, even the cooking demos. And then in the building, you eat in your dining room, they're served. They're on different floors. We don't flip rooms a lot. So the shul is always the shul. The dining room is always the dining room. The kids' rooms are, with the exception of public seders, private seders, when I really have to, they're always the kids' rooms. So I don't get the mess moving around. So when you don't have a lot of space, the ballroom becomes the concert room, becomes the dining room, becomes the shul. Now it's the kids' amphitheater. And the sheer volume of flipping and moving makes it harder to maintain. So whereas in some hotels, the staff is constantly moving stuff, in my hotel, things are really just being maintained, which makes the job of cleaning a lot easier.
Does a hotel of your size exist in the tri-state area?
No, not with my space.
Zero.
I'm 70,000 square feet of space when you're all done.
New York City.
The hotel lists 50,000 or 55,000 ish, and then I had a tent of about 8,000 to 9,000 outside, and then I take over their restaurant, and their public area, more public space, and I take over their lobby. And when you're all done, I'm at about 70,000 square feet.
No other program in North America?
70? No, there's programs who have a lot of space. But tri-state programs?
That's right.
I mean, I don't want to speak competitors. Some competitors have good space. Some competitors have good. Nobody has as much.
Sheraton Parsippany is not that?
No, not at all.
Wow.
No, I mean, Rytown Hilton has a lot of space. He has good space. Stanford Hilton has good space. But those are really the two biggest tri-state hotels as far as space goes. Most of the other hotels are smaller. I know that the Hilton in New Jersey, which no one's doing Passover, has a big ballroom, but then all his space is small.
Do you actually invest in the hotel that you rent out every Pesach? Money?
We put money into certain things.
Like
we
what?
fixed up things that I don't like the way they look. Sometimes if they want to pay for it, I have to pay for it. I don't know.
Do they appreciate that, or they don't care?
Yeah, I always say, how come I don't get invited to the holiday party? I feel I'm contributing enough. We have a very good relationship, and we're very close. Personally, I know, calls before Jewish holidays and vice versa is pretty standard. And real calls, not just like token stuff.
You build out a playground, is that true, Bruce?
We bought a playground years ago. I bought it off the Baltimore Orioles. in Baltimore. They were getting rid of it. They put it, when they were doing some renovations at Camden Yards, and I got a tip off on it, and I bought it and moved, and then I added to it. And we build it and we fence it, and I have a place for moms and dads. I have little kids, so it could be both. Go to playground, push the kids around, have a place that they can just sit down, have coffee, and watch the kids, like a park.
Do people ever expand
it's actually
vacation?
What?
Do you ever people expand? They come for 3 days and they just want to stay for the rest. Has that happened or not?
Yeah, many times. If I have availability, it happens a lot. We'll have a lot of people come first days, and then my favorite was a family years ago in Cape Cod, came to us first days, went to Florida. They were supposed to go for the last days and the rest of the holiday. And then at the end of Chol Hamoed, they flew back. They didn't want to stay there. They wanted to come back to us for last days. From Florida. That was once. It was a family from Westchester. I was touched. We've had many families who are very happy.
What's the best compliment you ever got?
You get a lot of compliments.
What's your top two?
The one that I like the most is when people tell me that it seems like I actually care.
Bruce, what's with your big headphones when you walk around your hotel?
It's my phone.
You can't use AirPods?
People think I have something wrong with my ears, but it's my phone. No, I don't. I'm not comfortable. They block out the noise,
right,
and they allow me to hear conversations even in busy places. Plus, I'm very noticeable. It's become a trademark, so everybody can find me. He's the one with the headphones. It's like, who's the boss?
Them just for the interview? Where are they?
They're actually broken. I need new ones.
Here they are, guys.
Yeah.
Bruce walks around them. Put it on. Imagine you run a multi-million-dollar program.
Yeah.
You're running.
I usually keep one off one ear, just because people get mad. They think it's rude. But when I'm talking, it has to stay on. They must stay on. No, the best gift I ever got. My wife bought them for my birthday, I think when I turned 38, 39.
I would say that out of all the programs, you appreciate art being a part of your program. How did that come about?
I like when you come every year and you put out the art display, and you let me keep it up for 3 days. So then people get to wander and peruse it over Yom Tov, and it's very nice. I like art. I like the finer things. It's a nice quality. We always do it the last days of Pesach, the last 3 days, and people wander around, and then hopefully they bought stuff from you before. I know you've made a lot of sales with me, myself included. But no, it's a nice thing. It's a nice touch. I used to go to the Catskills years ago. We used to have Morris Katz. Morris Katz used to be painting like 70 paintings an hour. And you sell those too, right?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, but they're not very expensive, those. No, if anybody's interested in their entry-level paint, you can go get one of Morris Katz's 7 million paintings. For how much?
$50.
$50. Think about it, 70 in an hour, 70 times 50, he was doing pretty good.
I guess we kept him in the game.
Morris Katz I saw Morris Katz in action in the 80s as a kid in the Concord. And the Concord probably had a big impact on me because as a child, it was my favorite place in the world. And I think, I see my own kids. Obviously, it's my program, but I see my own kids, and they look at going to Pesach, and it's the highlight of their year.
Bruce, who's your mentor in hospitality world, or some
mentor
who you're inspired by, who taught you?
A lot of people in hospitality. I don't know. The truth. I've been following this stuff since I'm young. I read all the books. I read the Isidore Sharp books, and I read everything from Isidore Sharp, the founder of Four Seasons, through to different books on Ritz-Carlton founders and Caesar Ritz and stuff like that. I mean, the Pesach Hotel's not really that, but I would say that my inspiration or what I think and do really comes from my guests. We listen to our guests. Our guests talk, and we listen. Sometimes we may tell a guest no to something, or we can, or it doesn't make sense to do it. Sometimes guest wants it, and it's not really in their interest, and we'll have to explain that to them. We'll explain what will happen if they do something. But I'd say the inspiration, for the most part, is really listening to guests. I worked in politics for many years, and Arthur Finkelstein was somebody I worked with, and I would argue one of the greatest pollsters, maybe the greatest pollster of the 20th century. And Arthur would always say, winning elections isn't that difficult, you just have to listen to the voters. Running a Pesach hotel is not difficult, you have to listen to the clients. Clients are very clear what they want. I'll give you a good example. You can get chicken nuggets in my hotel from 3 o'clock till 6 o'clock before dinner, and before over a 3-hour window. Why is that? Why can't I used to do children's dinner for an hour. Mothers, there's different families, and they feed their kids at different hours. I've learned that chicken nuggets have to be available all the time. We just have to make more and more chicken nuggets. Why? Because kids eat chicken nuggets, and if mothers can't get chicken nuggets for their kids, then they go crazy because it's very hard for them to, in a strange place, not to be able to feed them. Milk. For years, people would ask me, I need milk in the middle of a meat meal. Why? Because they have the baby, they have to put in the baby bottle, my child needs milk, my child needs milk. So I said, the rabbi doesn't let you go into the kitchen to go take out milk during a meat meal. You're not allowed to bring milk onto the floor of a fleshik meal. So what do? So I said, there has to be a way. So we put a fridge in the lobby by the front desk. The hotel supervises the fridge, and every morning we stock it with the small bottles, not the big ones, because they'll go to waste, and most people, that would be unwise. Nobody needs that much. And if they want, they'll take 2. We stack it with the red, blue, and white milk, and even green milk sometimes. But usually the main one people want for babies is red. And we stack that in the morning, and it's there 24 hours a day. So if a child wakes up at 3 o'clock in the morning and you want milk, you'll just go to the fridge in the lobby. Hell, it's likely they'll even bring you a bottle of milk to your room. But you go to the fridge in the lobby, you'll just go take it. And now parents, we just tell them, you need milk, there's a fridge in the lobby at the front desk with a sign on it, and it's administered by the hotel front desk staff.
How do you check in 900 people, they all come at once?
We like to break it up over 2 days.
Oh, so half the people check in the day before and after?
We encourage it. We make it very reasonable, comparatively, reasonably priced to encourage at least half or 40% of the guests to come in the day before.
How are you dealing with
and to stagger it?
Friday is the day after Yom Tov.
What do you mean, how do you deal with it?
How do people get home, get ready for Shabbos? What are people doing?
What do you mean, Friday?
Yeah.
Oh, this Friday?
This year.
It's a good question.
You're not doing a chametz option, right? For Shabbos?
We're looking at it. We're not really pushing it very hard, but for families who need it, there will be options available to probably stay in the hotel.
Gotcha.
I can't guarantee people the same level of a program. The Shabbos, no, a lot of staff there's a lot of work to do. And the hotel has a big convention on Monday starting to load in. So I don't have the luxury of, I have to move out.
In general, they offer a chametz option?
Some are doing to-go packages, which is something that I had toyed with a long time ago. You take home Shabbos to your house, which I'm still not against. I'm waiting to see how it pans out. I mean, we haven't booked many options for it, but anybody we do book, we'll honor it to the best of our ability. Serving them whatever meals there are comparatively versus the rest of the week.
Running a Pesach program, do you think is it a 6-month-a-year job or even more?
I mean, it's an all-year-round job, but it's not all day, all year. You're always dealing with something every day. This time of year, it gets a little hectic. As you get into the last 60 days, you're closing your last few sales, and you're finishing your program, and you're writing your menus, and you're placing your orders. There's a lot to do at this point. But when you've done it many times, and you're not reinventing the wheel, I wouldn't say it's that difficult.
Bruce, what do you think about people who wait the last week of Pesach and they shop around for a hotel?
I think if that's what they can afford, and they're willing to take a chance, it's fine.
Do you get nervous when those people call, or you don't care?
I'm nervous.
You're happy to take their money?
It depends. Sometimes they call and they're not looking to shop around. Sometimes they got stuck and they had a problem that they can't stay home for Pesach. We had a family call last year, and they were ready to pay whatever it was. They didn't even end up coming to me, and they had a fire in their house, 5 days before Pesach, and they're not staying home, and they said, we have to go to a hotel. I think insurance even picked it up. So they could go anywhere they want to a certain degree, or within reason. If somebody calls late, sometimes they're bargaining, and sometimes, unfortunately, something happened to them that they may not be able to be in their own house for Pesach. So I would use that term. There's people who are always looking for good deals all the time, and if they're able to get it, good for them. It's a free country. Everybody earns their money. Everybody's entitled to spend it the way they see fit.
We're 60 days before Pesach now?
A little more. About 70 days before Pesach.
So let's say 60 days before Pesach. A hotel should be what % sold 60 days before Pesach?
Depends where the hotel is. I'd say the local programs. I don't want to put a number out there.
Okay, just an estimate.
It depends. There are programs saying that they're sold out now. They could be. There's programs saying sold out and they're not. They're just trying to, get more people interested. I would say you got to be 50, 60% sold.
60 days before Pesach.
60, yeah.
Most of the bookings happen when? What would you say?
It's different periods.
Okay.
I'd say you have bookings at the end of the Pesach the year before. People are so happy they want to come again.
Wow. So say 5%?
No, it's maybe about that. Then you have the bookings in the summer when the kids go off to school. Mm-hmm. That's the first wave. Parents are trying to plan their year. Those are very organized people, and they want to, they're not organized. If you have a job and you work in a company and it's a 9 to 5 or it's corporate, you have to. A doctor, lawyer, but if you're working in a place like that and if you're not an entrepreneur, not a businessman, and you don't have the flexibility of picking my sister-in-law is, her and her husband are going to go on a vacation, they have to put in their time way in advance. They can't just say the week before they want to go. You have to pick your weeks. Sometimes some companies make you pick 6 weeks to a year out, when you start to log in. So people are starting to plan when they're going, what they're doing for the year. The next big wave probably starts coming a little bit over the high holidays. After Sukkot is a big run. There's a lot of people over Sukkot. That's very common. And then after Sukkot, the next big rush is after Thanksgiving. Then there's a rush after Hanukkah. There's a big rush to start now, probably after Yeshiva week. And then the last one is really around Purim time. And then from Purim to Pesach, most people have figured out what they're doing, and then that's the last rush. But there are people still booking Pesach 3 days before. Always. I mean, not most people. I would say the local programs, all the local guys, I think we're getting most of that because flights are harder to obtain at the late date and planes are full and prices are high. But there's still people making those reservations. Sure.
I don't know anyone else in the Pesach world that could scientifically analyze a program. That's why I love talking to you about your program, because you really have it in a scientific data way of the waves. And
just speak to my bookkeeper. We'll see how data oriented I am. I could be sloppy in some stuff, but when it comes to, I understand. Like I can predict when there'll be a run. I mean, you're doing it long enough. You know when there's a big rush. Sometimes there's a big rush when you start advertising. Whenever you choose to go in the papers, that's the big rush there too.
Have you ever consulted other programs that call you?
Sure. I get a lot of calls from other programs.
And you help them out?
To the best of my ability.
Do they ever pay you, or it's all volunteer?
No, it's the good neighbor policy. I'm not looking to have, I rather have friends than enemies, and I rather my neighbors and I get along. And, I also have this thing that everybody's trying to make a living for their kids. As long as they're being honest and fair with me, I have a lot of hotels and other programs. I'm not going to say who call me, ask me advice all the time. And I'm not. And there's times I call other programs to ask advice too on certain matters. I know this year with Shabbos coming up, I called a lot of other programs to figure out what everybody was doing. And I think I got calls also. I mean, there was a lot of conversation what everyone was going to do about it. There are programs calling me about things all the time.
There's no WhatsApp.
There are programs who let me look at their menus. There's programs who ask me advice on what they should serve where, on how to schedule something.
Your ad, the best food in the business. Please explain that, where the line came from, and what's the message you're trying to convey with that.
I think my food is better than everybody's. I don't think it's better in the sense that it's the fanciest appearance. I don't think it's a bright lights showbiz kind of thing.
Right.
But I think that I'm serving better, fresher food. I think the way we cook is better and fresher. Better is a tough word because there could be other programs doing things that are better than me. But I know I'm serving fresh food, and I know I'm serving the best quality meats and fish I can get my hands on. And I know that, the little details, that I'm into, which is cheeses and smoked fish and stuff like that, I always buy the best I can get.
What percent of your program
the
flies?
The unique things, chocolates, things like that.
What percent of your program flies?
About 25%.
25%.
Everybody assumes everybody in Florida never wants to leave. We book a lot of people from Florida and California. First of all, I'm right near Washington, D.C. There's a lot to see. All the activities are free on Chol Hamoed. So for a family who's coming as a big group and they want to do family activities, there's no Disney World, to take 30 people to Disney World is like $4,000 or $5,000 for the day. To take, 30, 40 people, the same number of people to go to DC and to see the Smithsonian at the Space Museum and then go to the History Museum and then walk on the mall and see the Capitol, and if you book long enough.
Busch Gardens. People go to Busch Gardens?
No. There's actually every year, one of the non-profit Jewish groups in Baltimore does a day at the Six Flags Park which is Old Dominion. And there's a Jewish day there, so we usually send kids there, and people take their kids there if they're looking for that.
How far is it?
45 minutes. And every year we've not partnered, but they tell me about it. They give me discounted rates. The pricing is very fair, and it's a fundraiser too. And you can buy kosher food in the parks. You're not allowed to bring my food into the parks, so you could stack up on stuff, but I think they limit on what you're allowed to bring in.
What's your opinion about how? Because this interview is also directed to people who are in the business with your brilliant experience. Contracts. What's your opinion about Pesach contracts with hotels, year to year, long term, short term?
I like year to years. I like year to years.
Damage with all that stuff.
You have to be honest with the hotels. You have to tell them what to expect. You can't fool them. You can't make promises you can't keep. Don't tell the hotels. You have to warn a hotel that it's going to take a beating while everybody's in house. That the people don't live there. They're moving in. I tell a hotel. Most people when they stay in a hotel, they unpack their bags and they leave. When you go to Pesach hotel, you unpack your bags and you stay. You're there all day. Some people go out here and there, but they're there. They're eating all their meals there, which is not common. When was the last time somebody went to a hotel in a big city and ate all their meals in a hotel and then go to a local restaurant? When was the last time a person stayed in a hotel?
It's more like a club bed experience.
Well, yeah, you're in suburban, Washington, D.C., but still. But you have to be honest with the hotels. The hotels have to know what to expect. They have to know what to expect with this, things that a lot of guys never tell hotels about. I wouldn't say a lot of guys. I think most people who are in this a long time all have these issues. But hot water. How does the hot water work in the showers? Is it filterless hot water heater? Or Erev Shabbos, I'm going to have a lot of guests while they're getting ready for Shabbos or Yom Tov, they're going to run out of hot water. It's important because nobody wants to go into the Seder with a cold shower. And then you have other issues like housekeeping. How often when you clean the rooms? How do you clean the rooms? This was a thing I had in another program where there'd be cribs in the room, and at the end of Passover, they told me that under the cribs there was garbage. In one of the rooms, a guest complained, the hotel complained. I said, if you're cleaning the room every day, you have to move the crib, you have to break down the crib, you have to close the cot, and you have to vacuum in all the spots. He says, and then at the end of Passover, if the room is still dirty, that it's unbearable, then we'll talk about it. And since then, I'm involved in all the most minute details. I'll sit with housekeeping, explaining how to clean the rooms and how to do this and the times to do things. And, all those little things that people don't realize. If the housekeeping doesn't get to your room every day and they do a bad job cleaning up because they're behind, they just don't make it to you sometimes. Or you don't have hot water in the shower. They don't change your towels. They don't replenish the shampoo. The bathrooms, they don't replenish the toilet paper in the public restrooms. They don't replenish the pump soap. Those are real things.
Bruce, how do you do Erev Shabbos showers? Everyone's saying shower at the same time.
Depends what the water heaters are in the hotel. Every hotel's my hotel I have. I'm not saying it's never happened where the hot waters run low, but their hot water situation happens to be good. I've been in hotels where it's not, so I know the difference.
Even high-end hotels.
Yeah, but it tends to be much older buildings. You're talking stuff that was built in like the 40s or 50s.
Isn't a regular hotel everyone check?
I think we had that problem in Chicago. I don't know where. I don't want to say that we had other issues.
Doesn't everyone check out at the same time in a hotel? So showers should have a similar situation, or Shabbos even more concentrated at one time?
Hotels are not prepared for Shabbos. Conceptually, a hotel is not prepared that everybody in the hotel is taking a shower between 3 and 6 o'clock.
Are there sensors in your hotel, in the bathroom? No.
No. I always tell them when they make updates, don't make that one. Save that one. I'll pay you not to do that. They don't have it, thank God.
Because I've been to hotels.
A lot of the new hotels have it.
And I don't know what they're having.
There's a lot of, Shabbos concerns. I don't really have many. We man all the elevators. We have security guards on the floors during Shabbos and Yom Tov. Some guests choose to lock their doors. Some don't. You have the choice. Everybody has an option.
Pool. What percent of the program uses the pool?
Say 30-40%.
Use the pool.
Yeah, but that 30, maybe more. I've never been in the pool, but I'm saying other people maybe. I'm not going in the pool.
What do you tell someone who wants to open up their own program, Bruce? What's your parting words?
We have other things to do too. We didn't talk about all the other things in the program. I have tennis, I have basketball, I have 2 pools, I have a relatively modern fitness center with some new equipment, and I know they're making some updates now. I have separate sauna and steam rooms in each of the ladies' and men's locker rooms. I'm on about 28 acres with nature trails, and it's wooded in fields, and everything's pretty flat on it's a 4-story building. It's not a high rise. It's incredibly accessible for moms with babies and people, unfortunately, who have walkers or wheelchairs. It's a very accessible hotel. It's not difficult. It's not hard to walk around. It's not hard to get places. And everything's very well located and spaced.
Who is it not for?
If somebody wants to go to the beach, it's not for them. I'm honest with people who call me. They're like, yeah, we want to go to the beach. I'm like, well, if you want to go to the beach, don't come to me. I don't have that to offer you. I have a lot of friends who call me. It's like, why don't you do something on the beach? I'm like, I don't know. This works.
Bruce, what is looking for Bruce Backman brand doing all year around stuff? And I understand you do some all year round stuff.
I do some private stuff for families. I plan some private vacations like Pesach for families who want it. Some Shabbos weekends. I wish I could do more, but I do some really high-end stuff in the summer.
Is any restaurant or catering business coming up for Bruce?
Maybe. You never know. I do some event planning. I have clients who call me all the time.
What would you tell someone who wants to open a Pesach hotel?
I would tell them don't expect to make money for 3 years, and don't make promises to clients you can't keep. And then after that, make sure this is what you really want, because you have to be a certain personality to pull this off. I don't think that means people shouldn't. I have guys who called me, asked me advice, and I've guided them and told them they should do it. I thought they had a good idea or a good chap, and they should take advantage of. And I've had other guys call me, and I've said, are you sure you really want to do this? I had a gentleman call me who was in a very lucrative business, doing well, and he said, I want to go to Pesach hotels. So I want to sell my business. I said, he told me he's doing very well. I said, why? I said, listen, I'm not scared of the competition. You do what you want. I'm just letting you know in advance that you're making a lot of money now, and Pesach is a less predictable entity, and you have to be ready for it. And a lot of people aren't ready for it. And then they jump into it and they're, oh my God. I mean, there are programs that come and go. I mean, I could come and go. Who's to say?
What percent of
in 20 years or 10 years? What?
What percent of programs are around?
There's a lot. There's a lot
30%?
No. But there's a significant number that are around.
What's the number? 20%?
Probably a quarter to 30%.
30% of programs have been around for over 10 years.
Yeah. Some of them around for 20 or 30. And some of them, there's some really good programs out there. People call me all the time. A lot of my guests will ask me, we're not coming to this year. We want to go somewhere else. And I'm like, and I make referrals all the time. Not even referrals where I just say, I think this is good. You should go here. I think you'd like it. Sometimes I don't even know the operator, but I'll say, I've heard really nice things. I think it's a nice program. And people ask me, where would you go if you were vacationing? I mean, everybody wants to know that. And I'm not going to say that on now, but there are a lot of guys out there who do really nice programs.
What's your favorite?
From the different levels of, religious observance, from the more modern extreme to the black hat.
What's your favorite kosher restaurant in North America?
Mine?
Yeah.
I don't even know. I mean, I have 4 kids. We don't go out to eat as much as we used to. My favorite kosher restaurant in North America. Oh God. I mean, in the world, that would be easier.
What's the world?
I don't know. People laugh when I say this. I enjoyed when I was in Paris. I liked Kavod a lot. Mm-hmm. I thought Kavod was very good. Maybe I just liked it because it was in Paris, but I thought the food was really good.
New York.
Best kosher restaurant in New York that I've been to, the one that I enjoyed the most, I don't know him, but I like Noidui Carney very much on the Upper West Side. I thought that was a well-run, smooth operation. It's expensive, but all the good ones are, but it was good. So it was a memorable, that I've been to in the last few years, yeah, I would say so. I found the food to be good, I liked the service, liked the atmosphere.
Favorite bakery?
I like bakery a lot in Crown Heights. For bread, I like Bread Smith in Flatbush a lot, especially the challah rolls. He's a great guy who's doing a great job over there. I hope he does well in business. He's a very nice person. Those are good.
Is Fleischik or Milchik?
I like the Fleischik.
Favorite Milchik?
I like the food. It was like high. It was like, I used to like years ago the one on the Upper West Side a lot too, on the East Side. But
favorite Milchik restaurant?
Taveri 84 I liked a lot. Milchik, the favorite dairy restaurant? I mean, in the 5 towns, Cork and Slice is very good. Honestly, would I say it's the best? I don't know, but it's very good. Like, I don't feel the need to go to other restaurants.
Are you into wines at all? Or not really?
No.
No.
My clients are. We're into wine. We try to buy things that people like. We've gotten better at it over the years. Am I into wines? Wine is good. I don't know. Don't ask me. I'm not the right guy. I know what people tell me they like, and we try to buy it.
What do people say they like?
Today? The people who know or the people who don't?
Both. People don't.
People who don't get very excited from what I don't buy, which is Chalk Hill. Everybody who doesn't know gets excited from Chalk Hill because they know it's expensive and it's mavushal and they see it in restaurant menus. The people who know, a lot of people who know, Shiloh Mosaic is very popular. I hear that's a big winner, and then there's a lot of French stuff which I don't know the names of, and a lot of interesting stuff from Italy which isn't as well publicized, that are very, very good.
I understand last year you had a special wine guy, right?
We do, and I'm probably going to have him again this year. I have to work it out with him, but we hope to have him again. He's a great guy. We have wine. Yeah. Any other questions?
No. Well, yeah. Lectures and singers. What does a hotel need? What does a hotel not need? Or does it depend on the crowd?
Hotels need to have complete programs. Programs have to be complete and they have to be diverse. You have to know who your body of guests are. You have guests who are older, the Bubby and the Zaidi who are there, who are going to be very happy taking walks around the property, sitting in the lobby, having coffee, and going to listen to a lecture in the middle of the day. You have the kids who want to do something, sport related. You have the adults who want to do something hands-on and fun they don't usually do at home. The entertainment at night has to be very family friendly. I used to be into this adult entertainment. I got out of it. I've learned that it's not, at least not in my crowd, it doesn't work. If you make a program that the children can't participate in at all hours of the night and all hours of the day, you end up having trouble. People say, well, we and the parents need a break. They do need a break, but I find that as long as the kids are happy and having fun, that's to a certain degree a break for the parents. It's better than putting the parents in a place, the kids can't go there, and then you have to find something to keep the kids busy, and then the kids are upset they can't go somewhere the parents are. Been there, done that.
What's the most popular item in the tea room?
Oh, the chocolate.
Chocolate. Where's your chocolates from?
Miami Beach chocolates for many years. A great guy you should always support whenever you're down on holiday this winter.
This year?
Yeah. If I go to Florida, I'm always visit him. He's my dear friend, and I've been buying chocolates from him for years, and he makes a special run for me every year. And I wish he could get more business. They're some of the nicest people in the world on 41st Street.
I get my holiday gifts every year from him.
He is one of the nicest. They're amongst the nicest people, and the chocolates are delicious. And everybody loves them, and everybody always asks where they're from, because they're from New York, a lot of the guests, and they don't see them. And I'm like, I get a run out of my... I asked him years ago when I was visiting, I said, you want to make me chocolate for Pesach? He says, we make chocolate for Pesach. So he gave me a fair price, and I tried even to get other programs to buy from him, because I thought the product was so good. And I've been buying from him for many years. Not to say I don't buy some chocolates from other people, but majority I buy from him.
But would you
the truffles and all that stuff, the stuff people really love, like the mint truffles and the cordials and things like that, we get from him.
People look at entertainment lectures to reflect the quality of your programming, and overall, do people judge it saying, oh, if he has this singer or this lecture, it probably means he's this level?
Yeah, I think that lecturers and speakers are more about crowd. If you take lecturers who have payas and singers who are Hasidish, a modern Orthodox family from Teaneck or Hewlett is probably going to be like, that's probably not a place our kids are going to know other kids. Unless it's Zusha. But even aside from that, you have to know your crowd. And then if you're taking entertainment where there's things that are more modern, a black hat family knows usually it's a sign that it's not for them. Or it's not that it's not for them, but I've tried to make my program for everybody, because I think that most families are mixed, which is, Bobby and Zaidi are young Israel, one child is Hasidish, one child is modern Orthodox, one child's not religious at all, and then they all want to get together in one room, and it has to work for everybody. And if not everybody's comfortable, then no one's going to want to go. And there are certain programs who struggle with that. I know of families who used to go to certain programs, and they'll tell me that I can't go here anymore because my son won't eat there, because it's gebrachs or because they have raspberries or something, and I can't go here because my daughter wears pants, and families are complex, and even my family's varied, and we have to make a program that everybody feels comfortable. I think I'm a Lubavitcher, and one of the most beautiful things about a Chabad house is wherever you travel in the world is that it's able to bring together diverse kinds of Jews under one roof in a harmonious way, and it's something that I think is very important. And I think most programs strive for it, but it takes a lot of work, and you have to have varied programming to do that.
What's your brand of what do you think?
And clean programming. It has to be clean. Everything has to be, you can't have anything on the schedule that somebody feels as they're not comfortable, they can't attend. Those are things you learn over the years.
What brand do you think people look at you saying, this is a Haredi program? What do you think people...
Me, I think they look at it as a safe bet.
Safe bet.
That's what I've always tried to market myself as. I'm safe. You're spending a lot of money and it's a safe place to spend it. I'm safe. I think a lot of my other competitors are safe too. I think there's a lot of guys in this business who are safe bets. I think there's a lot of guys who are not.
What percent of hotels are non-gebrachs?
Today, I'd say the majority.
Majority are non-gebrachs.
I think so. And even if they're not, they're not. Even if they are, they're not. Because most of the products that everybody's buying today are like most of the really good commercial bakeries that if you're not baking in-house, but most of the top commercial bakeries today, they're all non-gebrachs. So like how much, if a person's non-gebrachs and he goes to the gebrach program, depending on how strict he is in his personal hidurim, he'll always find what to eat. For the most part, unless if it's super, like they're in matzah meal, pancakes, and they're baking kugels with matzah meal, but the majority of programs today are very close to it.
How long does it take for the end of Pesach to get a pizza out? 2-3 hours?
No, 45 minutes.
Everybody have a pizza out already?
Yeah. Takes time, an hour 45, 2 hours.
That's the only time I ever saw a line at your program was the pizza.
And it's amazing too, because I think the piece of Pesach pizza we put out is a very good product. I have, we really worked on it a lot last year. We made it a lot better. It's much better than it used to be, and every year I want it to be better. But I'm saying, I don't think it was worth waiting in line for. I'm much more into when we do the quesadillas with black beans and stuff like that, and I like Mexican food, so that's where I go, and there's never a line for it. And the only reason it's on the menu is I think because I like it. But a lot of the things are on the menu because I like it. If I like something, I'll put it on the menu. I'll decide it's good for everybody else sometimes, and sometimes I'm right. Sometimes I'm wrong.
Do you ever make the same dish twice for dinner, or you always try and mix it up a little?
No, we'll never serve anything twice. But we'll sometimes we'll play with the same cut of meat and we'll do it differently. Like, if I'll serve a prime rib and then maybe I'll take a ribeye steak. So once I grill it and the other time I slice it on a ribeye. So that's technically the same meat.
Do you show the menu to your guests before the program or not? On purpose or just?
I don't show my guests. The guests see the menu before every meal. We take a lot of notes about what people like. And you communicate it with Lisa or with myself or via email. We put it in and we try our best to honor it. If we can't honor it, we'll tell you.
Have you developed,
to the best of our ability? I can't guarantee that, but most of the time.
Have you developed a dish that's unique to Pesach in the Northeast?
No, I don't think so.
Not
I
yet.
think we just have good food. I think we just have good food. I think I'm amongst guests. I think I'm known for the cheeses and the fish, the smoked fish. Nobody's buying the smoked fish I'm buying. But I like smoked fish and cheese, so there's very good smoked fish and cheese. You could speak to the company I buy the cheese from, and nobody's buying the cheese I'm buying. I serve like 40 different kinds of cheese at breakfast.
Do people actually eat it, or not so much?
It's fun. They never ate it before, so it's unique.
They're nibbling.
They're trying new things. There's a lot of good stuff on especially for Chol Yisrael. Once you really start shopping around, and there's a lot of unique stuff coming out of Europe and other places that you can get your hands on. And we like to give people try. The same thing with smoked fish. There's sable for breakfast every day.
I know you have a huge smoked fish and cheese.
We have a big smoked fish and cheese selection. So I'd say breakfast, that's probably a standout item. That's a little bit different than, I think we played with breakfast pizzas last year because I worked on pizza so much that I decided maybe I'll make some like flatbread pizzas for breakfast out of the oven, and that was creative.
What % of your guests are staying for lunch, or what % are running out to do a trip?
The majority on Chol Hamoed, I'd say I usually find even if they leave, they come back to eat. But if you come back to eat, we always have a barbecue. So if you came back and you didn't really eat, there's always going to be food for you when you get back. There's always somewhere in the hotel to get something more than tea root food. All day.
All day.
All day.
There's no gaps, breakfast?
No, well, we have early breakfast in the morning with omelets.
Right.
That's before breakfast opens. You can get eggs. For people who are commuting to work on Chol Hamoed, it's a big help.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some people in DC, Baltimore who do. Or they're leaving because they're going on a plane somewhere else and they're just checking out and they want to eat breakfast before the rush. Then we have breakfast. And after breakfast, we keep the omelets in the tea room until lunch, pretty much. You can get an omelet at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, 12:30.
And your coffee stand, Bruce?
And we have a coffee station, but I'm saying then we were always serving there. A lot of programs started doing this now. A lot of guys are doing it. I'm not the only one. And then we serve lunch, and then after lunch I do a barbecue through till dinner.
Bruce,
and then after dinner, then it's more sweets. You're not really getting, at a certain point we're done. Like, we're not serving you steaks at midnight.
Do you feel you have to one-up yourself every year and add something, or a good, solid product for the past 5 years is good?
I think it's good, but we try to find things to one-up every year, just so people don't feel that we're repetitive. We're not getting lazy.
How does that affect your margins if you're always one-upping just to compete?
Sometimes we get rid of things that wasn't so popular. Sometimes I'll get rid of something that I didn't think was such a big hit, and I'll replace it with something better.
What was your biggest mess-up you ever did in your past 10 years, Bruce? Or your worst prediction?
The real one?
Yeah.
Honest? I had to learn, this is very honest. you have to have enough wait staff. You can't run it. Guests have to have enough people. We have that now. There was once upon a time when I thought you could run it less because for whatever reason, and it doesn't work.
What was the biggest mess up?
That was the mess up. I didn't have enough staff.
And what was the result? People didn't eat?
Food doesn't come out. Guests are unhappy. Food is cold. It's not necessary. It doesn't have to be that way. If you staff accordingly, if you have the right number of staff in every department, you're covered. But you have to charge more. That means I have to be firmer in my price. I can only give you what I have money to pay for.
Do people request waiters from year to year? Or no?
Yeah, sure, and we try to accommodate that. Yeah, if we know that a particular family is coming back, and the head server and captains will sit around and they'll look at names, we'll try our best to put waiters. I mean, it doesn't always work out, but for the most part, we do, and we definitely have guests. And we also don't know which waiters are coming every year. Some waiters take a year off. Some waiters go visit their family, overseas, or I've had waiters who broke a leg and can't come.
Most of your what's the mic? Oh no.
Oh, you didn't catch anything? Forget it.